Hello, everyone.
Ooh.
Yeah, and then typically, it do fluctuate from like upstairs to downstairs just because heat rises.
Hello, can everybody hear me?
Yes.
Right. I can't hear.
Awesome. Well, I'll let him know and I'll have him come.
I am 1 minute away from a parking deck. Can you guys bear with me?
Sure.
We can have a little chat beforehand before we dig in, and this will be a kind of ad hoc one. So I apologize. It's a bit scruffier than the normal meetings. We've got some stats to go through, obviously. A couple of market news pieces to talk about. And Nyale, are you there?
Yep, I'm here.
That link I sent you with the video in, could you play that for everyone, if it'll play? I think that would be a good thing for people to watch while I get in front of a desk.
Hey friends, it's Matthew Ferrara. Can I make a quick suggestion? It's time to tell the media to take a break. Now listen, I might be a little excited here, but honestly, if you read headline after headline, day after day, you would think that there's a constant emergency going on in the housing industry. I don't know why, but the media seems to have it out for the housing industry, and they are turning every tiny little nuance, every tiny little change in data into a crisis, some sort of problem that is blown way out of proportion. And I think it's time we just told them to turn it all off. Let me tell you exactly what I mean. In the Wall Street Journal today is an article where the headline says, home prices fell in August in the biggest monthly decrease since 2011. Now you might think this is a huge, tremendous problem, so you'd read the article. And if you did, you'd get an opening line that says, home prices posted their biggest month-to-month decline in more than a decade. Now, biggest decline more than a decade? How bad could it be? Well, read the second sentence and it'll tell you. Houses actually fell 1.1% in August over July. Now granted, it's the second straight month that they fell about 1% month over month, and it was the biggest decline since 2011. But 1.1%? Come on, folks, is that actually a big problem? First of all, it's barely a few $1,000s on the average price of a home in America today. Secondly, it only affects those houses that actually sold in August. For the rest of us, nothing happened to the value of our house because the value of your house only matters on the day you bought it and the day you sold it. In between, most of us go day to day, week to week, month to month without thinking about the value of our house. But if you think that's all, read the third sentence and the fourth sentence in the article and you'll get things like this. The same index that said that the housing prices fell 1.1% month over month rose 13% in the year that ended in August. So the question is, are they up 13% year over year, or are they down 1% month over month? At some point, this all becomes a level of absurdity, because on a seasonal basis, an annual basis, a quarterly basis, or a decade-long basis, almost none of it matters to houses that are still selling in under 30 days. And all of this data comes from national trends that are anywhere from 2 to 5 months old, according to the Case-Shiller Index, which admittedly only looks at data for contracts that were put into place months before their surveys come out and are released on a quarterly basis. On top of all of that, they're comparing to historical highs. Year-over-year home price growth has slowed from the, quote, record pace of more than 20% reached in March. So it was a record. So where do you go from a record? Well, you could go up, but mostly it's going to go down. It doesn't mean necessarily, though, that it's a crisis. In fact, year over year, it's still up. We still have less homes for sale than at any other time in over a decade, and we still have millions of homes missing from the market because we didn't build enough since the 2008 downturn. So there's no chance, with houses still selling in under a month, many of which selling at full price. Sure, you can find some numbers like San Francisco is down 4% and Seattle's down 4%. But if you scroll a little further down the article, the same article tells you that Miami continues to have the fastest annual home price growth in the country at 28.6% and Tampa at 28%. So what is it? Up 28% or down 4%? Down 1% per month or up 13% year over year? At some point, could the media just give it a rest? I know that if you don't have the lights flashing and the chaos going and the crisis building, that people might not read your article. But to be honest, it's time for everybody to calm down. And more importantly, it's time for real estate professionals to be in the conversation. When you see headlines like this, don't just make a comment online. Make sure you make a comment to the people who might be confused, your friends, your clients, your prospects, and even your colleagues. And most of all, make sure you don't start to believe all this craziness. I'm Matthew Ferrara, reminding you that what's down today may be up tomorrow. It's time to start looking for the good news. Stay always inspiring, my friends, and we'll see you online.
So what did you guys think?
He's right. They make
Yeah.
a bunch of hoo-ha over nothing.
I definitely believe we have to be careful about what we're saying to the people, to the buyers and the sellers and the people out there as far as what's really going on and putting things in perspective.
We need to control the dialogue more so and give perspective, play offense versus defense as much possible. Although right now the media is making it kind of tough to be offensive to the messages that they're putting out there, but we still gotta combat it.
I think it's the case we've been saying in our sales meetings, we've been hearing it everywhere. It's know your local market, be hyper local. A lot of the headlines that you see in the press are national and they're designed to grab clicks to sell marketing. So they're going to be sensationalist, but the reality, we know in the greater Atlanta area, we still have a strong market. Yes, we'll see from the stats, days on the market are more in line with a normal market. And Mika will have heard me say this so many times, but when I was selling real estate initially, I was a hot shot because I got properties under contract in 45 days, not closed, under contract in 45 days. That was something special. We're back there now, but there's still business to be done. And listening to, whether you listen to Shift, it's still a current book, even though it was written a good while ago. There's always an upside. You can trade up in a down market. There's a reason to buy a more expensive home. There's an opportunity for buyers. Niale, have you got the press article about Redfin that you could put up? Did we lose Niale?
I'm here.
Awesome. So everyone's seen the news about Redfin in the past week or so, yeah?
Yes.
Yeah. And the fact that, they're laying off staff, they're laying off, in quote, agents. and the iBuyer program is being shuttered. We saw the death of the Zillow iBuying program, and we know that some of the other big iBuyers are in trouble. They're going to have to offload inventory. This article in a longer format says, is this the end of them? And probably not. It doesn't really matter. There are other forms of iBuyer. They're all going to find a space in the market. Before the iBuyers, there were the ready-to-sell companies. So there's always going to be a disruptor. Compass was a disruptor for a while. There's always going to be something new. Again, if we focus hyper-locally and we focus on our skill and our trade, we can navigate beyond these people. But we talk about opportunities in the market. Well, Redfin and the other iBuyers are going to have to offload inventory. So they've got houses sitting there, overpriced, unsold, and they need to get rid of them. So those are going to be targets. So if you've got buyers out there, there's opportunity. So if you've got investors out there, there is opportunity. It's every time you look at a press article, I think it's important not to just take it at face value. I think it's important to turn it around and see where the advantage is for you as a realtor and where the potential is for your client base, whether they're selling or buying. What does it mean to you? It's very easy to get beaten down by the constant press articles coming out, the news every time you turn the radio on, turn the TV on, open a news article. It's going to be negative, but if you look deeper, there's often an opportunity for you. The difference is that your competition is probably not thinking in that way. They're actually going to read the headline and think that all is lost. So again, there's opportunity in this for you as well as your clients. As I say, I apologize, this format is probably not what you guys are used to. We kind of jumped in last minute. Joel, can you tell me what you're seeing as a closing attorney?
What I'm seeing is I'm actually a team lead.
Oh, sorry,
for,
team lead.
Yeah, in the South Fulton area. And we're seeing our buyers, we're not getting as many calls. I know just like everybody on this call here used to get calls at least once or twice a week, someone trying to buy their house. And so we're not getting those calls anymore, very sparingly. And so the iBuyers seem to be kind of, drying up a little bit. Like you said, I'm sure they're just going to wait around until it's, time for them to jump back into the market. But right now they are leaving the market, and we're seeing inventory go up in the South Fulton area. And but we're combating that, it's making sure we have the right dialogue, like Mika was saying, and making sure that we're controlling the narrative.
Yeah, I mean, I think the big positive dialogue for any buyers out there is that there is opportunity on price, and there is the ability to negotiate. There is the fact that you can now have due diligence, you can have repairs, you can have seller concessions. So even though the
have down payment assistance, even.
Exactly. So even though interest rates are up, albeit to historically normal levels on average, even though interest rates are up on where they were, there's the potential to bring the price down to get more assistance. So it does negate the impact somewhat. And there's, reality is there's less competition between the buyers at the moment. You can make a more informed decision without the pressure of 15 other people trying to offer on the same property. I think we've seen with the buyers agents out there that they're slightly less stressed. It was a fantastic time during COVID in terms of people, hand over fist, making money. It seemed that was not true for everyone, because a lot of people were on the losing end of those negotiations, competing against 20 other buyers. So I think we're seeing, breathing room for buyers, breathing room for the agents. That's a good thing. A little bit more balance. How is anyone dealing with their sellers at the moment? How are you coping with those guys and girls as they hit 30 days plus on the market?
Well, we're letting them know, kind of setting expectations that the market has come down some, and we do expect for the prices to come down, and homes to stand on the market a lot longer. So in order to combat that is to price your house right, price it below. So, a few months ago, we were looking at what sold. And then based off of what sold, that's how we would price the home we're going to put on the market. Now we're looking at what's sold, but we're more interested in as far as what's on the market, who's sitting on the market, and making sure we price under those folks, under those homes, so that we can not be on the market too long. Because right now in our area, the average days on market of the sold homes are between 18 and 21. Average market of the active homes are 38. So obviously, once you get around, if your home's been on the market past 18, 21 days, either you need to adjust the price or adjust the condition of the house, one of the two. But the
Well,
market is pretty much telling us what to do.
Most oftentimes it's price.
Most oftentimes it is
Most often.
price. That is
So
true.
your approach is definitely that you're not planning on chasing the market. You're being preemptive. You're striking first. You're looking at active listings as your true competition rather than recent sales as true comps.
Correct.
Because we're moving around. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. We could call up the stats and take a look. I don't think there's anything in them from a quick glance that is going to surprise any of us. We're seeing, the continuation of, limited closings, days on the market creeping up. And, we still have suppressed inventory. So
yes, the good thing, right? You see the actives, 1114, 712. So that's kind of dropped. We do see that the new homes coming on the market has slowed down. Active under contract, slightly down some, but not much. The coming soons, they're kind of stabilizing. As far as 1031, you had 20, 11/7, you had 26, and then 11/14, you had 23.
Would you say that this represents a general acceptance of a somewhat new normal by everybody? The people.
Well, I think we're moving towards a balanced market. I think, like you were saying, we're moving more towards before 2019, where homes will be on the market 30, 35, 40 days. They're not going to just sell, before we even hit the market. So we're moving. We're still in the seller's market, but we're moving towards a more balanced market, and I think this is what we should be expecting.
I think my personal experience with some listings in our team is that buyers are willing to take a minute to consider. They'll put houses onto their short list, which is something we haven't heard for 3 years now. Yes, it's definitely in the top 3. We're going to go back and revisit. So I think buyers are okay with the interest rates. They don't love them, but they're not terrified any longer. They're learning that they can take a minute to choose. Sellers, I think if you educate them at the outset, you won't have too many arguments from them. They're seeing the press. They're probably more scared than they need to be. As we go back to the headline articles. I think if you look at the figures, it depends how you slice them. You could make the stats look scary with big rises, big drops, but the reality, I think they're all within a ballpark. I don't see that we're sort of wildly fluctuating left and right, up and down. I think we'll cruise out the rest of this year.
I have a question, please.
Mm-hmm.
So I noticed on withdrawals that number has jumped quite a bit. So what is the rule when it comes to actively pursuing withdrawals? Is it okay to go after those, or do we assume that there's a listing agreement still in play? How do we do that? Because that's definitely an opportunity based on how much that number has gone up and how we can change our dialogue with sellers to give them a better expectation of what the market is.
Actually, I mean, I can tell you several things, and anyone wants to correct me. I think you're fine to go after withdrawals. They're off market. Okay. And the second thing is today, and I actually laughed out loud. I had a call from Berkshire Hathaway. No, they weren't trying to recruit me. I don't know why. Apparently, I'm not attractive to them. They can go stick it. But what this person was doing was trying to solicit a listing from me as the listing agent. So we have a listing in the team. It's still under the 30 days. It's not an easy sell in that the condition, it was a rental, the condition is not great, but the price is pretty good. And we do have about 3 or 4 people hovering around. We have 2 offers in play. So we're okay. This agent called to say that they have a program where they'll take your listings that you're struggling to sell and they'll pay you a referral. Has anyone else had a call like that? I mean, people are thinking any which way they can to get inventory. Anyone
That
think
is interesting.
about that? I actually laughed.
I haven't had anybody call me about, at least not yet. But Miko, you do bring up a great point, because withdrawals are very similar to expireds. They're, you know, the seller didn't wait for the home to actually expire. They actually withdrew it, so that they terminated the contract also with the agent. So you shouldn't have any problem as far as reaching out to those withdrawals also.
Yeah, I think anything is fair game and you're acting ethically, so no problem there. We saw, and Jason, our PC, mentioned this would happen, the drop off as we approach Thanksgiving and certain sellers are done for the year. The holidays are coming up, they didn't sell. So you do get that sort of little jump in withdrawals and expireds. I think that'll level out a bit now. Anyone still on the market buying or selling is serious. I think we all agree that that's a traditional thing that never changes. It's a cycle in the market. Does anyone see anything in these figures that particularly surprises them or worries them? Again, I've had a brief look and did not see anything too terrible. It is what we expect.
One good thing is, I mean, they're still closing.
Yeah,
That's quite a bit of homes are still closing. That hasn't tapered off too much.
I can give you the anecdotal that, and this has been said at KWRI, it's been said at Bold, it's been said on every coaching call you can listen to. It's back to basics, the fundamentals. I know a young agent in our office put 3 contracts in this weekend. She's just being bold. She's doing it. And she's a younger agent that's taking market share. She's not being beaten down by the press headlines. She's out there winning market share. I think that's what we all need to keep in mind and pass on to the people we work with and help. I think Brett had said, a couple of weeks back, we're heading for a gross level of sales in the US that hasn't been, the figure is a 1990s figure. Instead of 6 million, it's closer to 3 million sales. Again, you could choose to look at those gross numbers and get incredibly panicked that there's not enough business. But if you choose to analyze and look at it in a different way, you'll see there's opportunity, because we are going to have less realtor competition. We're going to have less competition from people like Redfin and Zillow. There's opportunity in the market. There is business to be won. We're going to see smaller brokerages perhaps disappear over the next 3 or 4 months as they hit the skids a bit. We're going to see brokerages where the rosters are not receiving true training and support struggle. And we're going to see people like us at KW where there is training in place and there are systems that are tried and tested through every market for decades. We're going to win ground. I think that's the bottom line. Has anyone had any interesting stories to do with the stats? Has anyone had any interesting listing conversations or buyer conversations relating to what people are seeing in the news, or any real difficult conversations about convincing people that it is actually a good time to be out in the market?
I'm going to say it's more success as long as you align it. I convinced a listing agent to talk to their client about reducing the price on a home. And this was in the sum of about $80,000. And then after that happened, they pretty much were doing whatever was necessary to keep the deal in play, and gave an additional $7,400 in closing costs. So because of the dialogue I had with the agent about, I used the market to my advantage. that not as many buyers would be coming to the property. Now is the time for this buyer who's, has great pre-approval to go ahead and get it under contract. Plus they had been under contract for a while. So I use that to my advantage. At the same time, if I were the selling agent, I probably would have done the same if my listing had been on the market for 80 days.
Yeah.
So just utilizing the tools, the scripts we have is definitely winning for some buyers. That same buyer also lost out on a couple of houses that were under multiple offer situation. So every situation is different, and we have to know the market to be able to make the adjustments that are necessary for our clients.
And I think the beauty is we have such wonderful access to market data that we do have the information, and not to make light of it, but it's lies, damn lies, and statistics, as the saying goes. So we can choose that data, we can reflect it in a way that helps our argument. So in Mika's case, you were able to bring down a list price, receive concessions and really win for your buyer. At the same time, you help the listing agent get their job done, and ultimately the seller sell a house that was going to sit there. So it was still a win-win, but it was more like the Voss never split the difference win, where I think you won that 70-30. It's a good thing. You use the data and you use the market knowledge to help convince someone that your argument was the correct one. Your submission was right. So I think that's brilliant. Well done.
Yeah, I think it's spot on and I think one of the things agents will have to do is like what Mika said, is that you're going to need to, especially when you're working from the listing side, the seller side, you got to figure out a way. When you have someone that's interested in the property, make it work. Figure out, start working. Do you need discount points? Do they need to bring the price down? Because the sellers have been able to generate over 10 years of appreciation. So they've got a little equity that they can share a little bit. So, but that's a great point. Make sure that you once you got somebody that's locked into.
I think for your sellers, for the sellers, for the most part, because of what's happened over the past couple of years, your equity point is really important. They've done extremely well. So even if there is a perceived slight devaluation in the market, if prices are in quotes coming down, they're not falling 20%. Right. Yeah, maybe they're going to get a few dollars less than they would have 6 months ago. But if they're buying, they're also going to go and buy a property for a few dollars less than they would have had to pay. So again, there's balance that you can bring, there's reason you can bring, and just a calming influence, I think. But again, I mean, this was thrown together. So thank you for listening to me, Joel. You are amazing. Thank you so much for being calm and just there. I appreciate you. And does anyone else have anything? No, we good? I give you the gift of, I give you the gift of 3 extra minutes in your day. There you go.
Thanks a lot, Lee.
Cheers. Take care, guys.